Hi, Dr. Morey at Uncivilized Vitality, and I am dressed in my traditional Scottish or Irish, I'm Irish, Great Plaid or Great Kilt or Filet. So I'm going to show you how to put this on and talk a little bit about how it can be a super versatile item to use out on camp. So stay tuned. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to put the kilt on. I had to take the sweater off and I had to put pants on because my wife said that wasn't YouTube appropriate. And then you'll see that normally throughout the day when I take my sporting off, I usually just carry every day a fanny pack or a waist pack or whatever you want to call it. Without the kilt, I don't think you can call it a sporting, but that's where I keep everything, my day-to-day pack. And then this is the shirt I was wearing underneath. And I will put my sweater and things back on as we go through it. But I just wanted to show you the kilt. This is a Great Kilt, or a filet more. I don't know. I don't speak Gaelic, but filet more. And the Great Plaid, the Great Plaid or kilt refers to this piece of cloth, which is essentially a gigantic Moreygami or blanket. So you can see how big this is. This one is an 11-ounce wool blend, and it's the Clerg or clergy tartan. I don't know anything about the tartans. I'm Irish, not Scottish, and I think the Irish go by the county instead of the clan. So this is just a cool blue. And this is the one I wear. I also have a Jolly Roger tartan and a Night Watch tartan because I like the blacks and grays. Just a giant blanket. One of the best parts about wearing a kilt for outdoor activities is the fact that if I fold this in half, let me see if I can gather the ends up, and my wife and I have done this before to cut down on the gear we carry. She would carry a blanket in her pack and a tarp, and then at night when we'd lay down, all right, not only do we have her blanket, but we have a double layer, essentially a nice heavy wool blanket, and you can see how big that is. There's plenty of room for both of us to fit under that and to wrap up to use in the tent at night. And there's a couple other uses for it too. I could take my kilt off, or if I had a second kilt for a blanket, and I just throw that around me, hope that against the microphone, as an extra blanket or other outdoor uses. But let's show you how to put the kilt on. If you're interested in, and I'll put this in a link below, if you're interested in more about the kilt or the Great Plaid as an outdoor piece of gear, we're going to do some videos this coming year about that. So I'm going to use the kilt on more of my trips because I super enjoy when I use this outdoors. There's a channel called Fandabby Dozy. We'll put the link below. And he's a Scottish Highlands survivalist and 17th century gear enthusiast. And he'll give you so many uses of the kilt. It's great. I enjoy watching him. He uses his as a shelter. He ties it up as a hammock. He wears it in all kinds of weather. So that's great. But let's show you how to put this thing back on so you can see what I looked like at the beginning, ignoring my ridiculous pants. Okay, so first thing you have to do is lay your plaid out on the floor. This is the only drawback, as my wife will tell you, when we're camping, is getting dressed in the morning. Inside the tent, you can scoot back a little bit. I gotta lay this out. Inside the tent, it's hard to lay this out completely, but there's ways around it. You can even put this on, pleat it standing, which I've done before, but this is much, much easier. Usually instead of laying it out flat, and you can see how long it is, this is about 5 feet by 15 feet, or 58, 60 inches, somewhere in that range, by about 5, 6, 7 yards long, depending on how big you are. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna need our belt, right? We're gonna need our belt, and what we're gonna do first is measure the bottom, or the inside apron. And you're gonna kneel down from the edge so that my instep, top of my foot, I don't know if you can see from the side here, so that my instep or the laces of my boot are at the edge of the kilt, the Great Kilt. And then my shins will come in. This length of shin will give me about the actual measurement for the width of my front for the inside and outside aprons. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out to the first line in front of my knees, which is about this one. I'm going to pick that up, just give it a little pinch, and drag the whole kilt toward me and lay that down over the other line. So for instance, you see this line here, and then there's these wide multiple lines. I'm going to reach out and grab, pull that line in, just stop the edges. And at this point, if I can figure out how to do it, you'll see the film speed up with the magic of YouTube. I wouldn't count on it. Let's see if I can figure it out, speed this up. But I'm going to keep pulling this kilt toward me. I don't have to worry about adjusting these ends as much, especially since I'm recommending this for outdoor use and not necessarily the wife and I headed out to a formal event, right? In which case I'd have to wear my formal sporran and a couple other things with the jacket and tie. But since I got my first jacket when I weighed 172 pounds, there's no way I can get into it now. So I'd have to buy a new formal jacket to wear this to, say, a wedding in lieu of a tuxedo or something. I prefer just to wear it outdoors anyway. So I'm keep pulling and laying these pleats, straightening it a little bit as I go, laying these pleats out. So you can see I'm folding this fabric up. Yeah, I guess if I'm still talking, it won't do any good to speed it up with the magic of YouTube editing. So let's be honest, there was no shot I was going to be able to figure that out anyway. I've just seen it on other videos, figured I could do it. But anyway, you see how I'm pleating, this fabric just overlaps all that wool that's going to be directly behind me for its insulative value. When I get to about an even apron on that side, maybe one more fold because I can unfold that. When I get to an even apron on that side, so I've got these pleats laid out with about a 2-foot apron on that side, 2-foot apron on that side. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slide my belt under. I'm going to lift up and slide that under the pleats. And then I'll be able to adjust that in a minute. Then I'm going to lay down, so that's about where my waist is. I'll lay down on the pleats till it reaches, it'll be a little longer when I stand up, so just so that falls just above my knee. Okay? Just above the back of my knee. I'm going to lay down, and I'm going to take my right hand side, the side I pulled toward me, and I'm going to lay that over me. That's my apron. And then I'm going to lay the other side over that one. That's going to be my other apron. And I make sure that the two, the hems have lined up. Sometimes you have to pull this inner one up a little bit. We'll make an adjustment. So we flip those two over. Bring your belt up a little higher than where you would wear your belt with a pair of jeans or pants. So a little bit above your hips, just below your belly button. Okay, and put your belt on. You don't have to cinch it too tight. I like to wear a belt so with the size for my kilt where I don't have a lot of leftover tongue because I don't like that flopping around. I'm going to put one hand under my back to hold those pleats. I'm going to stand up, and you'll see all the pleats at the back fold nicely. I'm going to drop the rest of that down, and then I'm going to clean up my kilt. So where the kilt drops down over me in the front, I've got these two leaves or flaps that fall down over. I pick those up. I can make a few adjustments so that my kilt falls just above my knees. Let me fix that up here first of all. All right. Now we've got our kilt back in place safely so that my sensibilities are protected. And get rid of those. Now, we're going to take so that the kilt falls just about, my shirt's tucked in, and my kilt will fall just about at my knees. Okay, we can fix that up in a minute. Sometimes I use a kilt pin here in that outer apron so that it holds. This is a little long. I need to pull this up a little bit. So I need to pull it up through my belt and bring the bottoms of that kilt up. Even those out. We'll dink around with that in a minute. All right. Now, a bunch of different ways I can wear my great kilt. First thing I want to do though is get these extra long leaves out of the way. So I'll grab that corner of that front flap. I'm going to pick this up, tuck it in a little bit, bring it around behind me, and just stuff it down my belt. Okay. I'm going to pick this other front line out. Okay. Bring it around behind me, and just stuff that down in my belt. What this has done is give me a couple of, first of all, a nice fold across the front of my kilt. The back end needs to come up a little bit. Okay. Tuck that in. Now I've got a couple of pockets. And into this pocket I could put my my cell phone. I can drop just a couple things down in these pockets. What do I have to put down in there? Let's say I've got my computer mouse with me. I just drop that down in the pocket. Now I've got it. Okay. At this point though, in addition to those pockets, I would bring in, tucking under the layer in the back, I could bring in and put on my sporran, which is basically my fancy fanny pack for the front of my kilt since there are no pockets. And now I have these. This is a good time as any to point out that this kilt, or sorry, this sporran is made exclusively at Great Kilt. Can you see that? Great Kilt in Frankenmuth, Michigan. I was up there today getting some orders in for a new great kilt in the official state tartan for the great state of Michigan. Great Kilt, we'll put that down in the link below. But while I was up there, I picked up this new utility sporran. It's made of a heavy duty Cordura. It's got the overflap. You lift it up. It's got a single zippered pouch with slots inside for your ID and pens, and it's pretty roomy. And the cool part of it is, behind that, there's a deep recessed pocket with some loop field that you can drop a small pistol into. So this is a concealed carry sporran. Very handy. Right? Now it looks like I got a big bustle or trail hanging out. That's the tail. I'm going to take my sporran back off for a second. So if I were just doing some work and I had to roll my sleeves up outside and I've got my kilt, obviously I'm not as policed up as I could be. If I've got my kilt just on chopping wood or digging holes, I can leave the rest of that trailing around behind me. If the kilt is properly fitted, it won't get into the mud or anything, and it's just down there in case I need it during the hot part of the day. As it gets cold, I can pull these pockets out from this front apron, and now I've got all of that length. I can go along that long line. I can start to unfold some of that, and I can toss that up and over my head. Okay? When I've tossed that up and over in the front with the aprons down, now I've got, again, a wearable blanket. I pull my kilt out at night like this around the campfire, grab those two edges, pull them in. Now I've got a blanket to wear around the fire, and I've still got all that pleated material behind me. Because of all the pleats, you get a lot of warmth back there, a lot of freedom of movement, but a lot of protection in the back from the elements. And I can sit down even on the wet, cold ground and stay pretty warm. So I can wrap this up this way. Another neat trick that I learned on one of those kilts, probably the Fandabby Dozy, or there's another guy that used to do kilt videos on YouTube 10, 12 years ago. So I'm going to find the two front corners of those aprons again, and I'm going to tie a tiny, tiny little square knot. Okay? Tiny little square knot. Okay? Just like that. Okay? In the front. going to pull this extra cloth up over my head and put that knot over the top to kind of pull that, to hold that hood in place. And now I've made these two sleeves. I've got a hood for my kilt, and I've got these two sleeves that I can just wrap around myself in camp, or just cuddle up like this on the ground. Maybe untuck and roll my hose up to my knee. In my kilt, now I'm almost head to toe, wrapped up in various layers of wool. Okay? So this is kind of a neat way to go. And since this is, what's that, walked wool? Anyway, the lanolin, it's quite weather and water resistant. It's not waterproof, but it will shed a light mist with no harm, no foul, just wrapped up like this in my kilt. Okay? Then I can untie or just slip the front over. I can drop those tails down again once it warms up, and again tuck those, just pop those in the back, right? And now I've got my two front pockets. My sporran would go on underneath the front of that. I'll show you that in a minute. The other thing, the Great Kilt is, well, another way the Great Kilt is known for being worn is I'll take that front corner, I'll go down the long edge, about a foot, just throw that through, gather some of that material up, okay? I'll do the same thing on the other side, flip that corner in, gather some of that material up, actually further back probably will work better. Grab that further back, come up and over my shoulder with some of that extra cloth, and lay, sorry about the microphone, and lay those two cloths together. You could knot this, right? You could tie a small knot. You can use a pin. You could use a brooch. You could just tie a small piece of cordage. I just have a paracord locked there, and I will just sort of tuck that in, fold that. Now I have my Great Kilt situated in the back, so I've got this all this extra hanging down the back. Actually forms a little pouch right here. So I could throw, let me put my sporran back on in the front now that I've got those up. Okay. So I come around under the extra apron in the back. So this is right up against my belt. All right. So my sporran's in the front, and I've got some of that extra cloth up and out of the way, tucked in. Tucked in and throwing my Great Kilt up over my shoulder. If I get too hot, I can drop this down off my shoulder. Or if I get too cold, I can grab my sweater, which I was just going to show you. So I've got this part up and over my shoulder. Wearing my Great Kilt in the traditional style, got some of that extra cloth gathered up and out of the way, and I end up with this little, it's under my sporran belt, good Lord. Yeah, there's a lot of cloth to work with. But I've got this extra little pouch here in my kilt that I can just stuff my sweater down into. There we go. That I can just stuff my sweater down into and carry that around behind me in the back of this kilt, right? In this little pouch back here that's formed by the layers. Tuck that back in there. Okay. So I carry it stuffed around back in there. I know this is getting a little ridiculous. All right. So you're gonna take the outer layers, flip those up over the back, fold it up, gather that in there, fold that up, gather that in there, come over my shoulder. There we go. I mean, it is a lot of use, but it takes a little bit of practice to get all these things right. Now I've got that little pouch. This will be another time for the magic of YouTube. I can just stuff my sweater down in there. If it gets too hot, now I'm carrying my sweater because maybe it got too hot during the day walking around with all this wool on. Okay, and let's say I get where I'm going, or we've stopped hiking. We've stopped hiking at some point, and it's getting a little chilly out. I can stop, pull my sweater out, drop that down off my shoulders, and then I've got my nice heavy cable knit sweater, also wool. Oh, that's gonna really heck with that microphone. Get that down. My collar out. Now I've got my sweater for an extra layer of warmth for around the campfire at night when it's really chill. And I can I'll tuck my Great Kilt back up over the top. Tuck my Great Kilt back up over the top of my shoulders. For wearing it around, tying it off, or using my brooch again. Or if my sweater's not enough, getting that long edge again, fanned out, and just flip that up over my shoulders. And now between the sweater and those several layers of wool in my Great Kilt, I can lay down and be pretty warm. Matter of fact, it is excessively warm inside the UV room trying to show you this. You think February would have been a great time to show people how to wear a Great Kilt, but my God, is it warm. So that is how to wear a Great Kilt. Quick and easy, despite all the wardrobe malfunctions, which I am not going to edit out because that is not what I do. Tuck that inside. All right. We're ready to go. Got all my accoutrements in there. We'll show Got Kilt one more time. All right. I believe they have a website. Oh, it's right on the front there. Got Kilt. got-kilt.com. All right. Check them out. Start thinking about getting a Great Kilt for your outdoor adventures. They're super versatile. It's like having an extra 2 wool blankets with you that you wear. They're super handy, super versatile. Check them out on gotkilt.com. Like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications for the channel, smash the like button, and I gotta get this sweater off because it is super hot. So that's it. Oh, yes, and buy me a coffee.